Hey everybody, welcome to Gregsbeerreviews today. Hey, let's take a walk and go see what's in the fridge today. Hello everybody, welcome to Gregsbeerreviews today. I do appreciate it. Look at this big 22-ounce bomber with wax on top of it, which I hate. I don't know why these guys put wax on the damn beers. It's beyond me, guys. It really is. It costs you more money when they put wax on top of the bottle. They got somebody standing in the bottle line putting wax on a beer bottle that's under pressure that doesn't need to have wax on it. And people say, oh, that's keeping from counterfeiting the beers. Seriously? Really? Is somebody going to take the time to counterfeit a beer and put a label on it and put wax on it or do anything to counterfeit a beer? I don't think we've got that problem yet. So, as far as I'm concerned, wax on a beer bottle is tits on a boar hog. It's useless. It just adds cost to the beer and makes it harder to get into it because you got to end up getting the knife out and trying to cut it so you can get a damn opener on it. Enough ranting. Wax on a beer bottle is tits on a boar hog. In my humble, honest opinion, it is useless. Makes your beer cost more, and it's a useless step that shouldn't be done. So, now I told you how I feel about it. So, this was sent to me by Nate, and I've had this one for a while. This is a 2014 edition of the Abyss from Deschutes. I don't buy a lot of Deschutes beers anymore because they sold out. Traders, as far as I'm concerned. But they do make some tasty beers, and this is one of them. The Abyss series is a very tasty beer. It's probably one of the best beers. It's sort of like Goose Island's Bourbon County series. It is very tasty, guys. So I'm hoping this one is cellared well, being a 2014 and we're in 2019. So it's 5 years in the bottle, approximately. I don't know when in the year that they do it, whether it's the beginning of the year, middle of the year, or the end of the year. So approximately 5 years old. This is a pretty big beer, and it is it says here 2014 Reserve, the Abyss malt beverage brewed with blackstrap molasses, licorice, with cherry bark and vanilla added, with 6% aged in oak bourbon barrels, 11% aged in oak barrels, and 11% aged in oak wine barrels. So it's a blended beer. They're taking several different barrel versions of their aging and putting it in this. And this says best after, so the best before or best or used by or best by or whatever. They say it's best after November 10th of 2015, and it's 11.1% on this version. So 11.1%. Beer Advocate clumps them all together no matter what year it is or anything, and it says 11.4%. So that ABV is wrong. Imagine that. Over to Untapped, they have the 2014 edition listed, but they have it listed as 11%. So I don't know if they're just taking that 0.1% and throwing it away. They say it's 86 IBUs. Of course, it's a 2014 edition, so it is retired. They don't brew a 2014 edition anymore. They brew a 2019 edition would be the next one. So, a deep, dark Imperial Stout, the Abyss is almost immeasurable depth of complexity, hence the molasses, licorice, and other alluring flavors make this something not just to quaff, but contemplate. As for the great, drink it now or let it age debate, we stand clearly on the fence, distinct and delicious on release. The flavors meld and fuse into an entirely different pleasure after a year or more in the cellar. So this one's been in the cellar for a while. Nate sent me this quite a while back. So thanks, Nate. I do appreciate it, sir. We're going to see what this brings to the table. So with that being said, we've gone over everything. We know what the ABV on this one is, 11.1%, and it is a 2014 Reserve, which is a blended beer from several different barrels. So, got the wax to deal with now. So, Let's get the old knife out. You shouldn't have to get a knife or pliers out to open up a beer, guys. That's just the way I feel about it. Just my opinion. I don't think anybody's counterfeiting beer, so I don't know what's up with that. To me, it's just a way for them to charge you more. Like going to get a prescription filled. Do you want generic or do you want name brand? What can we charge you more for? So that's how that works. And anybody that's not on prescription medicine, consider yourself lucky. I'm not one of those anymore. So let's see if we can get the wax or most of it off where it's not going to fall down into the beer and do any kind of crazy shit, because I'm not a fan of drinking wax in my beer. And it comes off in little bitty pieces, which I hate. Like I said, I'm not a fan of wax covered beers. It's a useless step in my opinion, and I don't think you'll ever convince me otherwise. So, nice hiss. And we still got wax trying to come off with the cap. I don't want that wax down in my glass, guys. I'm not even a fan of foil on a damn beer, especially the way Avery does theirs and glues it on tighter than Dick's hat band. Some of the other breweries that do put foil on, it comes off in one piece. I don't have a problem with that. But when you got to dig and hunt and peel and all right, into the glass we go. We're going to go down the center on this one unless it starts doing anything crazy. All right. Very nice. A little over a finger of head on that pour. I'm not getting any light at all, guys. It is pitch black. I am a fan of this series of beers from this brewery, even though they sold out. I don't buy their beers anymore. I used to, but when they sold out, I stopped. I support the little guys. I buy beers from local craft breweries and other breweries that consider themselves or still are independent craft breweries that AB InBev or any of the other big names have bought controlling majority or any majority of. I'm just not a fan of that. So I don't buy their beers anymore, guys. I don't. But I'd still review them when they are sent to me. So, good looking beer, don't you think? A great looking stout. Final beer of the evening for me. To the nose we go. Rich roasted malt, hints of molasses, there's some licorice in there. Definitely getting some barrel aging on it, but they blended this beer. It's not like it was all done in a bourbon barrel or something. When they do a bunch of different barrels like this, they're doing it to get a desired taste. I'm not a fan of beers being done in wine barrels. I'm not a wine drinker. A lot of people are, so I can understand why they would try to do something like that, but I would just assume this beer had been done in bourbon barrels only, and then get all of that, or rum barrels only, or just even a straight up whiskey barrel, or even just a wine barrel. And that way you're getting all the aromas from that one barrel instead of blending it all together where they all get kind of mixed up and you can't tell what you're getting or taste what you're getting. So, just my opinion. And I thought I would throw that in there. So, it does have a very nice smell. Definitely tell there's some barrel aging going on because I'm getting some vanilla, and there may be some grape notes in there depending on what kind of barrels and the wine barrels that they put them in. It does have a very pleasant aroma. Let's dive in. Cheers everybody. Cheers Nate. Thank you sir. And to me, when they do 3 or 4 different barrels, it muddles up to me what I think I should be tasting. Just put it in one barrel and let it age. If you want to do 3 or 4 different versions, put all of this one in this barrel, put all of this one in this one, and all of this one in that one. Instead of taking all those and blending them together where everything kind of muddles together. I'm just not a fan of that, guys. It's just me though. It's just me and my OCD. I want to taste some bourbon, or I want to taste some rum, or I want to taste some brandy, or I want to taste some wine. I just don't want all of those in the same bottle. But that's just me. So, very pleasant. I'm getting a little bit of everything. I mean, I'm not getting huge bourbon. I'm not getting huge wine. I'm just getting a lot of muddled up flavors. And to me, I'm getting a little bit more of the wine notes, more grapes or fruitiness than I am bourbon or anything like that. There might be a slight hint of the bourbon, but it is so muddled up, you have to look for it to find it. So I'd rather taste one, do 3 different versions or 4 different versions. This one's the bourbon, this one is the wine, this one is the brandy, this one is the whatever. And if I want to buy all 3 and taste the difference between them, fine. But to blend all those together, and there are a lot of breweries that do blended beers that are tasty, but when they do that, it just muddles up the prominent notes that you're going to get, whether it's more bourbon or more brandy or more wine. It just, maybe they want to taste all that stuff. I don't know, guys. I'm not the brewer there, but I do think this series is pretty tasty, but it's not a cheap beer to buy. Anytime you have a barrel-aged version, either whether it's one barrel or they blended the beers together to produce something that they think you may like or what they like, it tends to cloud up the beer to me. So it's just my opinion, though, guys. Very nice slicing up on the beer. It is a very, very well made beer. It's a very enjoyable beer. The alcohol, it seems to be fairly well hidden. It has cellared very well, in my humble, honest opinion. But I digress. I've told you how I think. So let me sip on this one. It's cold right out of the fridge, and see if anything comes out more prominent or different once it warms up to room temperature. And I'll give you my grade, guys. I'll be right back. Alright, guys, I've been sipping on this for a while. Tasty beer. Not super impressed, but it is a very tasty beer. I really like this series of beers from Deschutes, their Abyss series. But I'm not a big fan of multiple barrel aging when they blend all this stuff together. I would just assume they did 3 or 4 different versions of it, like I said earlier. We got a bourbon version, we got a wine barrel version, we got a whatever version here from the different barrels they want to do it in. Instead of blending all those together, where it muddles up the taste to me. Just my opinion. If you don't like a big bourbon note or a big grape note or whatever, and the blending beers seems to appeal to you a little bit more, you may find this a 10 beer. And at one time, I probably would have gave that beer, or this beer, that grade also. But with it being blended from several different types of barrels, not so much anymore. I would prefer a single barrel aging process, whether it's bourbon, wine, brandy, rum, whatever, to get those tastes prominent in the beer that I'm buying and drinking. So, just my opinion, though, guys. So, very tasty, though. It is a very, very well made beer, and I do like this series of beers, just like I told you earlier, just like the Goose Island Bourbon County series. Goose Island makes some really good stuff in that series, but a lot of the beers that are done in New York instead of Chicago are very transitional, and I don't like them. They don't appeal to the seasoned craft beer drinker. But the Bourbon County series, whether it's a barley wine or the coffee or stout or the bourbon barrel versions, are pretty tasty. So, final chug on this one. Very nice, pleasant aroma. Nothing is standing out. I can taste and smell the different barrels that they've blended this beer with, and it kind of muddles it up to me. And that's just my opinion, though, guys. So, final chug. A very tasty beer for 11.1%. The alcohol is fairly well hidden, but nothing stands out prominent to me to give this beer a 10. It is a well-made beer. Alcohol seems to be fairly well hidden, but with the different barrels that they've blended this into, it kind of muddles up one barrel over another barrel. That's just my opinion, though, guys. At one time, I probably would have thought this beer would be a 10, but right now, not so much, because everything is muddled up together. So, to me, I'm torn between an A- and an A. But they do have the ABV on it, and they do have the vintage on there. And I don't know when in 2014 this was done, beginning of the year, middle of the year, end of the year. So they're not giving us that information. There's nothing else written on the bottle other than the vintage. I'm going to give it an A, guys. 95, right down the middle of the A category. It is a very pleasant beer to drink. The other half liked it more than I did. She tasted it, smelled it and tasted it, and thought it was awesome. I had to pry the glass out of her hand. She thought, oh, you don't want this, do you? But the wax on the bottle is a deterrent for me, and blended beer is a deterrent for me. So, in multiple barrels, blended beer is a deterrent for me. So that's 3 deterrents. So it's lucky it's getting the A from me instead of an A-. 95 for me, A beer. Over to Beer Advocate, they say 4.47, which is outstanding from them. I'm not going there, guys. It's just not an outstanding beer to me because of the blended barrels that they've used on this. Over to Untapped, final check-in, they have it at 4.2. And that's their A- scale. So I'm giving it in between those two with an A scale. A- and 4.47 is almost an A+ from them, not quite. So A beer from me, 95. So if you've had this from Deschutes Brewing, their Abyss, this is the 2014 edition. Let me know what you think. It was a tasty beer, guys. I'm not going to take that away from it. It is a very pleasant beer. Not a fan of the wax. I'm not a fan of blended beers. It is what it is. So if you've had the 2014 edition recently, let me know what you think. Till we meet again, let's go see what's in the fridge.